kind of later. I actually just wanted to go live to talk about my cut. I'm sure my wife is upset because I went live when one of her other favorite YouTubers went live. I don't know, she's probably at work though. So, see if anybody comes in here. And if not, no big deal. Talk to myself, which I talk to myself a lot, so it's okay. There it is. Which I talk to myself a lot. We had an interesting day yesterday. Let's talk about assumptions. We'll get some people in here. We're going to talk about assumptions. We'll do some shout outs. My coffee is brought to you by Sanctuary. We are metal. We are family. Isn't that the coolest logo? I love it. So, you lost? Oh, yeah. Look. You know, the short stuff has been really good to me. And coming up here, I mean, there's definitely some money up here for sure. But we had to kind of finagle the clock because of the extra trip we made yesterday. I shut down at the TA literally at 10:35. Well, my appointment here across the street is at 8:30. So I had, you know, didn't want to cheat the log. Safety guy can't do that. So we did the 8-2 split, and so hopefully this place will take 2 hours. If not, we'll just truck on over to the truck stop and then we'll be good to go. But that's why I chose this load, and because I knew it was perfect for what James needed and what I needed. So, but it was probably good to get out of my usual stuff because it was starting to get kind of old. You know, weather's starting to get better, so it was time to get out a little bit. Maybe bounce around here for a little bit. We don't have Illinois interstate, but there's a lot of Illinois to Ohio. More likely I'll probably do Illinois, Ohio, back to Illinois, then back to Oklahoma or Missouri. That should give me a decent revenue. But we'll talk about assumptions, right? And I probably should have put that in the title. I think I just decided on that topic just like a minute ago. So let's do some shout outs. We got Dalton Clark, John Armstrong, Daniel Adami, GNC Family Trucking, Jesse Bennett, John Reynoldson, Twitch, Clyde, good morning, Scott SRO, back to Lone Wolf mode, yep. Robert Daniel, Bob G, Sudden Rider, Great Freight Sage Logic. Assumptions are deceptive thoughts. Usually kick me on the seat warmer. I almost went over there where you're at, Snorelord. But you didn't, Daniel. Thanks again. You're welcome, Big Rig CEO. Waiting on the bank, right? Nathan Galloway, Senior. How's it going? Greg Zimmer. Don't want to do that. Oh, my luck, I'll knock it over. So, no, I like this customer. I like, you know, I don't mind Illinois as long as I stay out of Chicagoland. You know, from the loop in, it kind of gets annoying, but and then Southern Illinois is kind of a dead area. So, you know, as long as you're on 70, 55, 74, that area, there's a few things I'm looking at, but I want to see what this clock's going to do. Because if they take less than 2 hours here, which is a possibility, then you know, we'll see what happens. Fixing to head to Knoxville to look at some trailers. Good deal, Clyde. Hope you don't overpay. Hopefully you'll be all right. And you know, that'll definitely save you some money. Buying a trailer, somebody asked me, why did you buy a trailer? Because it kind of puts you in the game longer, by paying it, trying to pay it off or whatever. I think owning a trailer is probably one of the best decisions I've made as an owner-operator. Now, did I enjoy the drop and hook at Snyder? Absolutely. But to have the same trailer, to have the right way, Big Rig CO, he was like, are you gonna scale this? I'm like, nope. Right way says 33 and change there, said 31 and change there, we're good to go. And that right way's been awesome. So when you own your own trailer and you can put a right way scale system on it, that is absolutely awesome. If I was to buy 5 trailers that were all going to be mine, I would put right ways on them. So everything's getting over. Southern Rider, that is absolutely spot on. The other day, I think it was Saturday, I took my 2 daughters to go see Godzilla vs. Kong. And mind you, we didn't get any concessions, but we did get dinner afterwards. I was out $100, just the 3 of us, for the movie and the dinner. And now my oldest daughter, she offered to pay for a little bit. I was like, no, this is my treat. Consider it an Easter gift, Excuse me. And my wife and son went out to eat Saturday, and they were up like at $40, $45 for just the 2 of them on a simple meal. So I mean, it's everything's going to start going up, and they know that we're banking right now. So labor's going to go up, tolls are going to go up, shops costs are going to go up, supply costs are going to go up. And the price of trucks and trailers are going to go up. Trucks not as bad right now as far as price wise, but trailers definitely. It's and so inflation, we're going to have to make up that money that those trillions and trillions of dollars that were given to the economy. And it's got to come from somewhere. So I think we all overpay right now. Not plated trailers will look good so far. Clyde, that non-plated trailer has only been an issue twice. And by issue, I mean there was 2 loads that I wanted to pick but couldn't. There is a good paying load locally that does really good, but I would need a plate trailer. And in that sense, I kind of wish I had a plated trailer, but this one has done just fine. Haggy, what's up? Ivan Drago, what are you going to eat for lunch? Have you ever tried frog legs with syrup? With syrup? No. I've had frog legs, though. Trucker's Table, good morning. Big Houston, good morning. Back to the topic. Assuming we'll make an ass out of you and me. It was out of route, that's why I didn't go that way. Yeah, you don't want to go out of route, especially just to hang out with me. I went right to bed. I had someone text me on Instagram, and I was like, yep, I'm going to bed, dude. And because I literally parked and did my post trip and went inside, got my receipt for parking, and I was out. I slept pretty good last night too. Paul Wibbles, good morning. The Scribe, good morning. Jose, good morning. I've been sub to you since Landstar. Ivan, awesome. Good deal. Trucker's Table was live earlier, and he was talking about those loads in Waxahachie, Texas, dark container there. And he was talking about how it took 5 hours to load. I'm like, that place always took forever. It's floor loaded, and I've spent many nights at that place. And luckily, I mean, back then, I don't know if they do now, Triple T maybe can tell me, but back then they let you spend the night on the property. And so you could easily do a break there. And then those loads usually went to Oklahoma City. That's usually what I did. And so there'd be a lumper there. Trying to think where else. A lot of Sam's Clubs, you know, places like that. But Ivan, I appreciate you subbing this long, because as you see, I didn't leave. I only left one Landstar video up, and it's not even about Landstar. It's just when I was doing videos when I was at Landstar. Smooth Trucking, Caveman, what's up? So, but it was fun hanging out with Big Rig CEO, and we were having a conversation. And I think that we're all prone to assuming things. You know, we were talking about this yesterday. Like, for example, if you see someone driving a new truck, you might automatically assume that they got a high rate per mile costs. Oh, it just gave me a red light. You see this awesome coaster they give you? It's awesome. It's like perfect. Anyways, if you see somebody with the rattle trap, you might assume that they run cheap freight. Assumptions, as Southern Rider pointed out, are deceptions. Self-deception. Because if you assume that everybody out here that's driving a brand new truck has a high cost per mile, then you think to yourself, well, I want to keep my cost per mile low, so therefore I'm never going to get a new truck. That's kind of the wrong way to look at that. The proper way to look at that would be, how could I get a new truck and keep my costs low? That's kind of the game there. I know, but you know, I need to start tying my beard down, especially summertime comes up. I'm gonna be tying it up quite a bit. And so by just assuming that everybody that has a brand new truck has a high cost per mile, you don't look into the fact of what would it take for me to have a new truck to get a lower cost per mile. Just like you might look at somebody at another carrier and assume that they're getting a better deal or a worse deal than you are. Those kind of assumptions, well, you're blanking out information that might be vital to what you're seeking, right? And so how many TV shows and movies have you seen where people assume things and there's this lack of communication because of assumptions, you know, and it creates this drama? I mean, that's how life is. If you're not happy with somebody, you assume that they'll figure it out. But if you just assume and you don't address the situation, then it never gets solved. If you assume things, if you assume that every single person's like this, or every single driver's like that, or any of that, you know, or if you showed up at a receiver and they assume that you know where you're going. Well, this guy drives for, you know, Schneider, so he's, you know, he probably has been here before, so I won't even tell him where his door's at or anything like that. Well, next thing you know, you're circling the parking lot because the guy didn't tell you. You know, a lot of times the receiver will assume that you haven't been there before, and they'll tell you the whole spiel, even though I've been in there like 18 times in the last 2 weeks. They're gonna be like, okay, so what you need to do is you need to go over to, it's so that's kind of how it works. Assuming wastes a lot of time, and it creates a lack of a break in communication. Yep, spent the night. Okay, good deal. I'm glad they still have that parking. There's a few of those loads that pop up. Now, if it's the same agent, I don't remember the same agent, Triple T, but they were always good about paying attention. That yellow sheet becomes really critical. The only problem with Landstar is that, well, one of the problems with Landstar is that you've got to wait the full, 30 to 45 days to get that detention paid. So I suggest keeping a ledger, a notebook, or a reminder on your phone to start looking for it, and then Landstar still takes a percentage of that. So it was usually only like, it was like bonus money. Like one day you just got a settlement and you got like $80 added or something like that. Oh wow. Jeez. Every episode of Three's Company was a huge misunderstanding. Levi Coates, that was going through my head when I was talking about that. That's you can create comedy gold with that. And one of the other shows, like Dexter, there was always these assumptions going on, and if people would just talk, how many times have you seen that? It's actually kind of frustrating to watch sometimes. But TV's a big waste of time anyways. But nothing Woody, good morning. Mr. Furley, yep. But assuming is a dangerous game. And it can really keep you from really learning of what's really going on. So, Thomas Wilson, you're here. I can start over. Good deal. They loaded this load pretty heavy in the front. I had my tandems all the way forward, and there was still about 33 and change on the drive, so I was kind of mad about that. So when I slide the tandems all the way back, my right way is just tilt. Yeah, I don't think the Woodline trailer hurt me as far as loads go. Found some trailers at a halfway decent price for the times. What I found was that there are some customers, Clyde, that if you have wood walls, this happened at Landstar. I showed up a customer and guy opens the door and he's like, he just starts cursing, just because I had an older Landstar wood wall trailer, and so I was like, what? He's like, well, it's not you. I said, you said that the wood walls would be okay. It's like, well, they know better, so it's okay as long as it's not damaged. We'll be all right. But even if it is, we'll line it with cardboard. Not a big deal. And so there were many loads that, not many, but there was a few loads that I did where they lined the side walls with cardboard. The thing with wood walls is they just really don't want the damage, right? And so, if the wood's splintering and stuff, they don't want that. Chuck along with Kirsty, good morning. Finally caught me live. Now there's Shane Ferris from Green Miles. He had a trailer for sale, $10,000. It was a 2005. It had wood walls but a metal roof. That's the big thing. You want a metal roof. You have to have a metal roof. No fiberglass. Now, if you've got a direct customer and all you haul is like scrap paper or something like that, then you're probably okay with the fiberglass roof. But You know, that's the other thing. You can buy like 5 crappy old trailers if you need trailers for like, you know, hauling mulch or scrap cardboard or something like that, if you can come up with a dedicated thing of that nature. But there's so much freight right now that even a wood wall trailer is going to be profitable at this point. So, and also start paying attention to your rate cons, Clyde. See which ones would have issues with wood walls. You know, that's a suggestion I have too. But yeah, just you know, don't be quick to assume things just based off of looks. I know people with brand new trucks that are paid off, and I know people that have rattle traps that are still making payments on them. So, you know, there's all kinds of assumptions that you can make. The scribe, that is a good question. I don't know if it's the residue from a fiberglass roof. I don't know if I have no idea. I don't know if, I'm not sure what the advantages are, or what the, you know, might be a, I don't know. If you have, you know, and I don't think they've put fiberglass roofs on trailers in a long time, but yeah, there's definitely some residue from fiberglass, that's for sure. Selling carbon fiber trailers for $250,000 each. Very light and durable. You always go for metal, Scribe. Always go for metal. Like my trailer it's got 2 walls. The inner walls are graphite or plastic, or not plastic, but you know, that tough plastic kind of stuff. I have started to notice a little bit of bending on the floor rail, like where a pallet must have got hung up on something, so I'm keeping an eye on that, because that's not an easy bend I gotta fix. Preferably heavy metal, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want that light, chintzy, you know, deathcore metal stuff. You don't want that. But other than that, just be careful of assumptions, and you know, investigate, interrogate, read, talk to people. Don't just assume that somebody's got a bad deal or a good deal simply by what you see and what you hear. You know, actually talk to the person. You know, and also, you know, I've been guilty of that. I've made assumptions. Well, you know, so and so's coming out to the spot market and he has no idea, you know, what's going on, and then that person does really good. Or, you know, so and so went and got his own authority, and he's in for a rude awakening and has done really well. So I mean, I've been guilty of that too. So I've been trying to be more conscious about not doing that, because in the end, when you assume, it makes an ass out of you and me, and that's very true. I remember the first time I got that lesson was I was a cook. I was kind of a manager too at a place called the Repair Shop Saloon, which just recently was leveled to the ground. Man, if those walls could talk, there was a lot of stories there. If I can't assume, I can presume. Resume. Will it require trailer side guard soon? You talking like where skirts are? Blue Viking Coach? They already require some kind of wind deflection device in California. My vote is for the things that go over the hinges. But that was in Europe, they've had the trailer skirts for a long time, and they were more of a safety measure than a aerodynamic measure, because they had cars that would go, I mean, all the cars in Europe are real little, so they would easily get underneath the trailer. The problem I have with most skirts is they get damaged with a lot of old school docks. There's like that little ramp thing that goes underneath the scoop, that those would get hung up on docks all the time. You know, which Landstar had a lot of those, which I didn't mind those, but if that dock was like one of those docks that are like that, it would definitely hang up. You had to be careful where your tandems were at. But safety bars, I can see that happening in our future. Real Viking Coach. I'm worried on this new venture. Hopefully by the end of the week it starts. Chucky, here's the deal, man. You're coming out on a great market, but you're smart enough to realize that this is not a permanent market, right? Number two, you've got extremely good support at home. And so basically it's like going from college football to professional football. It's the same game, but the rules are a little bit different and the stakes are a little bit higher. And if you approach it the same way you approach Snyder, you're going to be just fine. It's you know, just there are ways to create consistency in the spot market. Okay, I know a person that just got his own authority, $38,000 for his first full month, running for 4 brokers. Well, you can't make money with the new. An assumption is you can't make money with the new authority. You can't run for a whole lot of brokers under a new authority. You're going to take a lower rate because you have no negotiating leverage with the new authority. That's an assumption. But yet my friend did it. And he used the method that, you know, I've talked about at length, about running for the same 4 or 5 brokers. If you're not picky about where you go and you find a good broker, and you Landstar guys can do this too, you can literally make a ton of money right now. If you're not picky about where you can go or where you want to go, but you run for the same 3 or 4 brokers that attention, you know you're going to get your lumper checks, you know you're going to, you know, they'll be able to take care of things, and you're not making 50 phone calls off the DAP board every morning. That is how you make money. That's how you create consistency in the spot market if you don't go to a direct customer. And so, you know, there's a person in here, he can reveal himself that he does some contract freight, and then they use spot freight to kind of maintain the contract freight. And a lot of it's through 1 or 2 brokers that his carrier have developed a relationship with to keep those trucks moving, to fill in those gaps. That's how you play this game. And so, Chucky, you'll be just fine. You just got to create consistency. You know, you're going to deal with a little bit more BS, but once you kind of narrow that number of brokers down, and you have a systematic approach to things, you'll be just fine. It'll be interesting to see how taxation will affect small trucking companies as we go forward with the new president. I agree. Seen some okay prices on Schneider and Werner trailers, not air ride though. Clyde, every now and then I'll see a load that requires air ride because it's glass. Because I know a lot of the guys that Advance, some of their lease trailers are brand new, but they're spring rides. So, you know, any port in a storm at this point, I would take a spring ride with composite walls over a air ride with wood walls. That's where I'm at on that. So think of all the freight that you hauled at Snyder that can go in a spring ride trailer. So what's a DAT board? See, Scott is another one. Same 3 or 4 brokers. When everybody was sweating when it was $1.50 a mile out here, Scott kept right on going, man. If you can't get it, like everybody go like, oh, you need direct customers, you need contract freight. That's how you survive in the trucking industry. Well, for one truck operation, you really don't have any negotiating power to come into a situation and get dedicated freight, right? So what you do is you find the brokers with dedicated freight. Like that stuff that I was running Joplin to Rogers. That's a dedicated broker running dedicated freight. I could call that broker today and book a week's work right now if I wanted to. So the only inconsistency with that were the customers. You know, whether the shipper was down because of production or whether the receiver was down because they had too many trucks at once. But consistency is key. You can either do that and find the brokers with consistent freight. You know, you might have a mom and pop brokerage that has one account out of, like, say, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you can help them maintain that account. And that was kind of an approach I used at Landstar. I would find these agents that had like these small accounts, and I was like their go-to guy whenever they needed something moved because I was always in the area. So there's something to be said about running the short haul stuff that I do. It's about consistency. And so I can't tell you when the most money I've made in the spot market was running for 2 brokers. And they were kind of a second set of eyes to what they had coming up. I got a good rate per mile, and I would go a month without even looking at the DAT board. You know, I'd like, oh wow, this search is from 2 weeks ago. You know, and oh, still nothing that I like. Hey, so and so, what do you got? You know, because it was easier. I mean, is it easier? Yes, but you know, having good relationships, business relationships, that's important. So, you know, I've got several friends now that run out of Springfield in the spot market, and we're constantly emailing each other and sending each other screenshots of loads that are coming out or going in. And so, you know, and then these people call me, hey, what do you know about this customer? What do you about know this? And, you know, and one of our guys goes through Springfield, they call me and like, hey man, I'm dealing with this. How should I, you know, where should I park? Where can I go? What should I do? You know? So TQL kept me busy my first 6 months, and they pay well once they work with you. 6% of my work is still TQL. Truck for Life, Shane at Green Miles, he was telling me about TQL. They're a preferred carrier over there. You know, so while everybody else is griping about TQL, he was making a lot of money with them. And you're absolutely right. You know, like C.H. Robinson's another one that people assume cheap and heavy. That's what CH stands for, cheap and heavy. C.H. Robinson has made me a lot of money, and it wasn't all heavy loads. It wasn't all like salt coming out of Hutchinson, you know, going to Albuquerque, New Mexico type loads. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything like that. It was, you know, some really good stuff that paid well. And my guy over there, he is on it with the detention. He's on it with layover. He's on it with pickup numbers. You know, and it was awesome. You know, there was a point where there was like 4 or 5 of us using this guy, and we were all making money for ourselves and making money for Jeff. There's a new wave fueling this boom right now, and a mix of going away from just-in-time to warehousing product in major cities. Thomas Wilson have talked about that. A lot of warehousing going up. A lot of warehousing. Anybody who's been through Belton, Missouri, you can see all the brand new warehouses they're building out there. And so this wave, you know, when it dies down, it's going to die down pretty quickly because everything's going to be warehoused. If it's non-perishable and they can warehouse it, they're going to do it. So You can load popcorn out of Chicago, Illinois for CH. Big Houston. And that might have been the case a year ago, but it just depends. But CH had that dedicated popcorn account that you and Daniel were doing. And, you know, so there's... Hey, Marty. So, I mean, consistency is key. You know, where I get frustrated is that I'll find a niche. I'll find a groove. And then that broker will lose that account. That happened to me at Landstar all the time. And, you know, I'd find, like, the one agent that had the shopping carts out of Wagner. I love doing those loads. And pretty soon, the shipper was shopping it out, and the agents were undercutting each other. It was ridiculous. That was one of the frustrating things at Landstar, was that these agents undercut each other just to get the work. You know, and who suffers? The driver, because now the load that used to pay $1,000 is now paying $800, and you're getting 65% of that. So it was just, I hated that aspect. That'll create cheap short runs in the future. America's becoming one giant warehouse. I agree with that. That will create cheap short runs in the future. Yeah, I mean that's the part I worry about, because right now short haul is doing really good money wise, because it's everybody's wanting to do the long big money, right? And so nobody's wanting to do short miles. So like this load here, I made the same amount of money doing, you know, 150 miles last week, the amount of miles I did. And, you know, so it was hard to get off that, you know, making $1,000 a day, you know, for 200 or 300 miles. I mean, that's the areas that you want to be in if you want to run the short game. Now the short game, there's a lot more work. You're dealing with docks all the time. You're sitting a lot. You know, things have got to kind of go pretty good. You got to be on top of it on the low board. With the market this good, though, I'm not even on the low board at this point, right? You know, once I see what my clock's going to do, and then I'll start making decisions, and I'll make a phone call. There's a couple loads I'm looking at, you know, and sometimes if you're looking for something specific, you can post your truck to DAT, and you'll get some phone calls, and that's how you kind of can gauge a market. You know, if you can get, you know, if you're getting a bunch of phone calls. I looked on the DAT board yesterday. There was 1,500 loads within a 100-mile radius of where I'm at going anywhere. 1,500. That's insane. If I put it down to like 300 miles within Springfield, Missouri, there was still like 500 something. It was crazy. Daniel says, I've been getting good rates from TQL. I've told myself I'll never book any load from TQL, and here I am booking loads from TQL. Look, TQL's got good agents, and they got bad agents. They got good loads, and they got bad loads. They got shady stuff, and they got non-shady stuff. All brokers have that. And once you find one person over there that is easy to get a hold of, you got their direct number, utilize that. The industry recent requests just in time, then the stress starts. Yep. For some reason they don't show up. If they do, I haven't seen them. I don't. With your carrier, do you have the C.H. Robinson app? Because a lot of times they'll show up there first. Daniel, that's how I find all my C.H. Robinson loads. I did 120 miles this morning, doing 125 mile back to Indy, $11.50 for the day. That's the kind of stuff I like to do. Everybody makes fun of me for not leaving Missouri, but that's the kind of stuff I've been doing. When the market is this good, and even when the market was bad, like last year when it was like really short on the money, rate per mile, I kept my rate per mile average up, and my daily rate within profitable range because I wasn't burning any fuel, you know, by running the short stuff. And so there's a method to my madness. It's not because I'm lazy. It's not because, you know, I'm afraid to go anywhere. You know, I'll do a load. I actually considered doing a load up to Pennsylvania for the money that they had. You know, if the money's right, I'll go anywhere except, you know, Oregon and Washington. But, you know, in California, I can't because of my trailer. But for the most part, if I can make my daily rate running around my usual areas, I'll do it. Every now and then I'll go down, I'll drop down to Florida so I can say hi to Provost, and, you know, or I'll drop up to, I used to run Texas a lot. I haven't been in Texas in months. Like, not even the Sanger. Every now and then I do a load to Sanger real quick and head back to Oklahoma to get a load out, but I haven't even done that. It's all been like Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, some Illinois, you know, Ohio. I mean, you know, I'm not sure they don't even have Uber Freight. Well, Daniel, I would get on that. I would see if you can book Uber loads. I would see if you can book C.H. Robinson. C.H. Robinson has an app. Now, the carrier's got to approve that. Same thing with Uber, but I would think that if you're in a self-dispatch situation and you have access to those brokers, that, you know, you'd want to have the power to book that stuff. Just last week, I was able to get on the Coyote Go app, low board. Well, that's good. What I like about Coyote and Uber and Convoy is that they have the addresses. Like, you can literally see where you're going and what you're doing before you even book it, and who the customer is, what the ratings are. Whereas, you know, C.H. Robinson does put addresses on there. Now, they do put times, which is kind of nice. But even then, it could be an open window and you don't know it till you talk to somebody. By the way, guys, 65 and 70 in downtown Indianapolis will be closed starting next month for 18 months. Wow. Well, mental note, always take the loop in Indianapolis. Got it. But so, look, it's all a strategy, right? Self-dispatch is not as easy as you think. But if you approach with a good work ethic, a good calm mind, you know, don't get all pissy with the brokers. You know, even though it's hard sometimes, you know, you can make it work. You know, you're a salesperson. Your sales, your dispatch, and your scheduling all ball in one big ugly mass. You know, and if you sell yourself and you sell your product, which is your service, then you'll be good to go. Oh, they're making some interesting noises in my trailer. You'll be going through Indy in a few hours. I'm not sure what direction I'm going to go. I might take a load up to Ohio. You never know. Depends on where the money's at. There's even a load going to Michigan that I considered. I don't need to be home for a while, so we're gonna make some money. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Big screw you, Steve. You don't know what you're talking about. Thumbs down kind of stuff. Come on, bring it on. Just say the 3 C's: cool, calm, and collected when you speak with the brokers. You know, sometimes I sit there and I think about, you know, when someone answers on the phone kind of rude, and you're just like, you know, here's how I kind of look at it. People suck, right? And so the world's kind of lost its collective mind. People don't have their crap together. And so you never know what you're going to get when you call on the load. You never know what that person's dealing with. You got a lot of people still working from home. You got an agent that might be stressed because the boss said they need to sell these next 3 loads, or they'll get fired, or maybe they just hate their life, or maybe they're going through something at home, you know, or they don't understand. You know, the big rig CEO was telling me a story about a guy that literally yelled at him and hung up the phone. He had an extreme reaction to the number that James had put out there. And I would have called him back and said, hey, you hung up on me, but do you not understand the volatility of this market? Because the guy yelled at him, but like, well, this last year you guys were doing it for this. And, you know, and so to be successful at the game that you're playing, you have to understand the volatility of that game. You know, same thing. If you're at Landstar, if you're at Schneider, you have to understand the game. You know, at Schneider, there were certain times a year where the trailer pool got stupid and you lose your favorite customers because they weren't shipping that time of year, or, you know, they would switch that over to the company side, you know, and it's just part of the game. It's part of like, oh, well, I guess they're putting all these on the company side. Oh, well, guess they need to figure something else out. You just move on. And, you know, how do you create consistency in a volatile situation? Well, that's systematically what you have to process, you know, and look at. You know, don't be blinded by the numbers too. Don't be blinded by, oh man, this load to Oregon's paying like $8,000. Oh, but you just spent, you know, $300 in your IFTA because you ran a lot of Oregon. So what good was that money at the end of the day? After fuel, IFTA, the permit, you know, all that stuff, right? And so when you look at the net, that's the number you focus on. The line coach, you know, he knows it's all about the net. And so that's why these short runs work for me, because the net is through the roof, because I'm spending less on fuel, less wear and tear on my truck and my tires and brakes, and I get to know these customers. I know these shippers. I know these receivers. I know this customer. You guys probably know where I'm at, Morris, Illinois. I know exactly what I was going to get when I got here, and so far it's paid off. I'm probably about empty. Ohio becoming a standing ground state. Good deal. Oh, or is that a good deal? I'm trying to realize the difference. Stand your ground is when you don't have to retreat to the next room, right? Is that right? I believe my scanner radio went off. Something's going on in Frederick County. Some kind of shooting. You pull your hair out if you had to do rate cons? You know, but Thomas Wilson, here's the thing, though. I have a friend that got his own authority. He knew that carrier packets and rate cons and other things would be kind of a challenge. So he's paying somebody to do that for him. And so that's the cost of doing business. So if you have a weakness, like you're not doing your own taxes, right? You have a weakness, you kind of hire that out. So if you had the right person, like your wife that's in the truck, if she can handle the rate cons for you, you'd be good to go. Yeah, I'm trying to think during my CCW class there, Little Vine Coach, they were talking about standing ground states. Missouri's one where, you know, you don't have to retreat. You know, like some states you have to retreat to one room, then retreat to that, and if you have no possible defense whatsoever, then you can use, you know, a tool. But, you know, if you can stand your ground, you're better off. Ron, if they've all but stopped. I mean, I think that you go from hundreds of trucks to hundreds of trucks to like thousands of trucks, hundred. It's like the number that they can put out now is but my opinion on gliders is you're overpaying for an engine that's 20 years old. I don't care if it's refurbished or not. So, but I do know that the government hates gliders, and so they're just all but eliminating them, pretty much. So, if you want a glider, you're gonna have to. Here's the thing with gliders. If you want a glider now, you're going to pay out the yin-yang, because companies that are making new gliders are charging a lot more because they got less that they're allowed to make. And then the ones that have them, like you might find some retired guy that's getting out of the trucking, he knows what they have, and they're going to charge a mint, so the demand goes up. That, my friends, is the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Hit the thumbs up. If this is your first time here, thank you. If you've been a long time subscriber, thank you. It's time for me to get to work. So with that being said, peace out.